I feel the Spirit moving in me. I feel the Spirit helping you to sit. I feel the Spirit asking you to pay attention to me. Thank you very much. Welcome to Albuquerque Center for Spiritual Living, where our mission is to be love in action, transforming lives and transforming communities. And with that in mind, we begin by just expressing profound gratitude that you've chosen to join us here in our Labyrinth building or online on Facebook and YouTube. We are blessed by your presence and by the miracle of technology that allows you to be here in the room with us this morning. If you are joining us on Facebook or YouTube, please use the chat feed function on those two platforms to communicate with us and let us know that you're here, and there'll be opportunities throughout the service for you to make your voice heard by using that chat feed, because through that miracle of technology, I will see and hear and welcome your presence into the service today. And we are super excited that we have this miracle of technology that lets us be together in this way. Okay, so if you're new to the center, you might be saying, what goes on here? And I'd just like to orient you to how we operate here. All throughout the year, we're putting together series based on things that come up in daily living that require some spiritual focus. Maybe it's relationships, or maybe it's prosperity consciousness, or maybe you're dealing with grief and loss in your life. We put together a series throughout the year, and then we kind of explore those things together. So I see our community as a group of spiritual explorers that are willing to show up for each other and come together and do this. So right now we're in a series called Spirit Through Me. And on our website too, if you're so inclined to go into About Us, near the bottom of that page, there's a whole bunch of values that this community throughout the years, the last 4 or 5 years, has really, we've taken all of we did some visioning a while back, and we're continuously refining what we believe, and how we function together. And so we have these values. And so this series on Spirit Through Me really focuses on the value of connection, and the value of celebrating diversity, equity, and inclusion. So all through this series, you'll hear talks, and today we are blessed by the force of nature that is Reverend Rebecca Allen, and she is going to be tuning up your ears. And her talk title is called, Can You Hear Me Now? And if you heard my spirit call this morning, I was kind of riffing on that old Verizon commercial of Can You Hear Me Now? And really asking the question, can you hear spirit now? And can you hear the still small voice of spirit letting you know what is yours to do? And so Reverend Rebecca is going to pick up on that today. And so we are honored and blessed for that. So to that end, I wanted to share just in real time a little story that happened yesterday with me. And yesterday we had a memorial service for Farid Huisman. And many of you know Tenzin, Amani's son, and Farid is Tenzin's father. And I say is intentionally because what came through loud and clear during that memorial service is he is very much still large and in charge and moving and having his being through all of the people that love him. And so I sat in the back of the room, and at one point they opened up the mic like this and people could share their insights and stories and remembrances of Farid. And those of you that know me in this community know I'm kind of a serial, borderline, almost inappropriate hugger. I believe in the consensual, I would never foist that on anybody, but I just really love the expression of hugs. It's important. So I was mulling over sharing my hugging story about Farid, but something, that still small voice just said, not yet, let's see how the rest of these stories play out, because I just want to learn and hear more. And wouldn't you know it, right when I yielded to that, Jordana's mom, Cynthia, got up and told almost verbatim the same story that I was going to tell, but in a way that was even more magnificent, because it turns out that Farid and Michael Herndon were buddies. And okay, so my little story was, when I first met Farid, I was just getting to know Clarissa, and by extension, she lived in a little casita on Amani's property. And so I was brand new to this community and just getting to know everybody. And wouldn't you know, one day Farid walks we were having a little get together, and it was the first time I had met him, and I put two and two together that he was Tenzin's dad. And he came over to me, and he proved that I don't have game in the hugging department like I thought I did, because he laid on the most intense hug that I've ever witnessed. He kissed me on both cheeks, and he bathed me in whatever signature cologne that he loved to overindulge in. And it was at that moment I realized I didn't have game, because, I might hug you, and and an hour later you go on about your life. You may remember it and be, you may be moved by it, but you probably forget that I hugged you. With Farid, you were with that hug for hours and hours and hours. And that came through in this story of his life, and he touched people in ways that I had no idea, and I knew him, fairly well. So anyway, the lesson that Farid teaches is in the power of really seeing and hearing each other and listening. And he paid attention to everybody in his life, and you knew that he saw you. So to that end, we're going to get a little tiny bit out of our comfort zone. And those of you at home watching on Facebook and YouTube can participate in this way, because I'm going to be your connection, and you're going to play the game with me. But right now, what I'd like you to do, so part of being seen and heard is the willingness, A, to show up. Check, you've already done that. And B, to let yourself be seen and heard. And we don't always, a lot of us, it's easy for us to share our joys in life, but not maybe so easy to share things that aren't as comfortable. So you choose, whatever's going on. Here's how the game works. You're going to find one person, And you are just going to state your name. So you're going to pause and make eye contact. Pause. Then you're going to say your name, and you're either going to say something that you enjoy or something that you don't like right now that you're experiencing in your life. So for example, I might go, pause. I'm Jeff, and I like hugging. And you're going to make eye contact with that person, and then you just switch roles, okay? So the other person announces them, and you see that person, and you hear. But you need to listen, because there will be a test. So make sure you really take in what they're telling you that they enjoy or that they don't like that's going on right now. So we're going to take 1 minute. This is not a social hour. This is a 1 minute thing, and do it and get back to your seat. And those of you on Facebook or on YouTube, you send me your name and something that you enjoy or don't particularly like. Okay, let's go. 1 minute. And 10 seconds left. All right, bringing our energy back in the room. I saw Deborah Schoenbaum, and she loves singing. I love and see Vanessa Owen, and she loves my hugs. I love Tracy Robert. She loves being a part of this community, and she's kind of cheating because she's here somewhere too and playing online. All right, she's getting an extra dose. All right. George, who did you see? George saw Rebecca, and what did you learn about Rebecca? She enjoys you. All right. Rebecca, did you feel seen and heard? How can you miss with George, right? And what did you learn about George? Right. How did that feel, George, to be seen and heard? Pretty cool, huh? Simple. This is how we get started. And that's what this community is about. We start by showing up. We start by being willing to be seen. And then the sky is the limit. You can work with practitioners here. You can work in small groups. You can work in classes. You can work in service. You can work in volunteerism, all ways to be seen. And it's just through that exchange that we get to know and love each other and fulfill our mission. So thanks for playing along, and I hope you got a little something out of that. And so now we're going to now that we're all primed for Hurricane Rebecca, we're going to have to take this into prayer first. So if you're inclined to close your eyes and be with me in this way. So it is through this gift of listening and seeing that we sense that still small voice and that impulse, whatever it is for me that brought me to this place. I feel and see and recognize that as the presence and power of the divine. And I know that in my unique hugging way that I am Spirit expressing. I'm made of that same very stuff that you feel in the room when we gather this way. And as I know that to be true for me, I know that to be true for each and every person who is a part of this community. And I know that as we practice that, that ripples out into all of our relationships. And it ripples out across the world. And that's how we evoke healing and change and create the world that we wish to be a part of. And so I know that the perfect ensemble of souls has gathered here today for this purpose, and I know that we are divinely guided and orchestrated in learning together and growing together. And so I simply release my word into this space and let it bang around these walls and interact with yours, with each and every person that's here. And so I call it all good and I let it be, and together we say, and so it is.
And now it is time for our prayer request time and candle lighting. And I would like to acknowledge our two practitioners holding the high watch, Ben and Joanna Clark. So for those of you on Facebook and YouTube, I invite you to write in the comments your prayer request or a simple candle emoji, and we will hold the highest and best for whatever the intention is. Also, our Dino will be lighting the candles with and for us this morning. And so those of you who are in person, please come up, light your candle, and if you choose to speak your request or your prayer request, please do so at the standing mic. My prayer request, and I'm lighting a candle for my family in St. Bernard Parish, Louisiana, who were affected by the tornadoes this week. Will you light them? Thank you.
Just want to hold the knowing of wellness for Clarissa, who is home and not feeling well. And let's hold the truth of her recovery.
We're lighting a candle for Joyce Stevens. We're lighting a candle for Lynn Peavy.
For my daughter, who's going to have a birthday this coming week, Katie.
I ask us all to pray for all the caregivers around the world.
To hold in prayer the brave and steadfast people of Ukraine.
We're lighting a candle for all of those still suffering from COVID and long COVID.
For the love and trust from my mother through my process.
We're lighting a candle for James.
I'm lighting a candle for my daughter, Kat, and also for my son, who is moving to Louisiana with his wife, who is from there. She's going to go take care of her mother, and my daughter takes care of me. Thank you. And also for the people in the Ukraine.
Thank you.
I share the same intentions of many of you, but I'm going to be a little selfish and ask for prayer for myself for prosperity, continued prosperity, and good health. I recently moved and made some bills, and I know Spirit will make sure they're all covered, but I just want to be able to be free from worry and being overly concerned, and just be happy that I could do what I needed to do when I needed to do it. But I'd like continued prayer. Thank you.
Thank you, Molly.
I would like prayer for Lori and for my niece, Bella. Thank you.
Prayer for Lori Martinez. Simona asks for prayer for two friends who are currently have the appearance of cancer.
With all this talk of hugging and all the wonderful things that come from having a body, I am prompted to celebrate and to pray in thanksgiving for the gift of touch.
At this time, Jeff is going to play the singing bowl. As we continue our prayers, our thoughts, our intentions, our knowings for things known and unknown, for things we would like to allow, for things we would like to release, knowing that as we do this, our intentions are held in the heart of each person who read and or hear my voice now. For our community, as we continue to build and grow with an open heart and an open mind, creating the dynamic for all of you who want to be here with us, people we know and people we have not yet met. And so, knowing this to be the truth, I release my word, and so it is.
I'm Rebecca, and I love this community. So, can you hear me now? I didn't choose that title, but it amuses me. I spent a lot of time on Zoom, and I bet you all have too. And do you remember when often people say, "You're muted, you're muted, you're muted," and then they push the button? Can you hear me now? It just slays me. So, I'm here to talk about, can you hear me now? The ways that I communicate with Spirit, and I can screw up that communication, and how Spirit communicates with me. So, I want to tell you this story. My son Rafe and I were in the car. He was, I don't know, youngish, maybe pre-pubistic, I don't know for sure, maybe a little younger. And he said to me, "Mom, what's hurt you the most?" Well, I thought, my goodness, I have done something right. I have spawned a child, a male child, who is sensitive and caring. And so I told him my story of what hurt me the most. My sister had betrayed me. I was crying, weeping. He was nodding his head. So sensitive, I thought. I was so proud. A male child that really cared and was sensitive. And so I blurted out my whole story of betrayal. And you know, I weep. He nodded his head, looked at his hands in his lap. So finally I had gotten my story out of betrayal, pain, emotional hurt. He nodded his head and said, "Yeah, but have you ever cut your finger with paper?" So see, the reason I tell you this story is because I was speaking from an unhealed emotion. And I had filtered his question through my unhealed emotions. And often, that's how we communicate with Spirit. We get these emotional hits. Somebody said to me, emotion, E stands for energy, E in motion. And so when we stifle those emotions, when we push them down, when we don't examine them, when they're unhealed, that's what happens in our communication with Spirit so very often. We filter through our pain, filter through our hurts, and the energy gets all stagnant. I think of it, those unhealed emotions are sort of like earwax, that we can have communication with Spirit, but those emotions that are not healed have a tendency to get stuck. And they build up, and they build up, and they build up, and they interfere with our wisdom, and they interfere with the signals and the requests and the love that we are sending out to the divine, and reminding you that it is all love, and law shows the way. And so when our thoughts, our words are congested, that skews the message that we are sending to Spirit through the law. And the law says, oh, Rebecca, you want to whine and feel sorry and sad about a betrayal that happened to you years ago? Okay, here you go. There's more opportunity for that. So when we ride the emotion to its conclusion, that gives those stuck, clogged up, waxy interferences an opportunity to show and flow through, to be healed. Brene Brown says that anger is a secondary emotion, and it covers, it covers a lot of emotions. It covers fear. Anger is a secondary emotion for fear, for guilt, for sadness, for anger. No, that doesn't make any sense, does it? Worry, shame. So when we ride those feelings to conclusion, then we have an opportunity to clear them, and our communication with Spirit becomes clear. Someone also once said, and I really like this, that you treat your emotions like guests. They come and they go. Visitors come and they go. And emotions only last for about 30 seconds. But when you deny them, when you shove them down, when you don't give them expression, then they have a tendency to cause that static with your communication with Spirit. And reminding you once more that thoughts are things and they are creative. And the law gives them right back to you. Maybe not always in a way that you had expected. So how do we listen to Spirit? What ways do we allow Spirit to speak to us? How do we get the message from Spirit? I don't think that all of us are like Moses and get a voice from the outside. I don't think it happens that way. At least it doesn't happen for me. If a voice comes, it comes from the inside. So what methods do we use to listen to Spirit? The first, I think, is meditation. It gives us an opportunity to settle and to allow ourselves to tune in to that frequency that is the universal frequency. So meditation, and for me, journaling is the number one, this is just for me, the number one tool for listening to Spirit. Because as I write, other thoughts come in, other wisdoms flow through. To me, journaling is like talking to my best friend, God. It's personal. And I really believe those thoughts that come through are divinely directed. Not always. The other way that I use to listen to Spirit is in the middle of the night. I don't know if this has happened to other people, but I awaken in the middle of the night and I get a clear idea that is persistent. It may be a word, it may be a thought, an idea. For instance, a week or two ago, I was awakened in the night, and Spirit, I had this thought that was persistent. It kept rolling and rolling, that I had had a conversation with someone, and I had inadvertently hurt their feelings. And I was totally unaware of it at the time. But that awakening in the middle of the night reminded me of what I had said and how my friend may have taken my statement. So in the morning, I texted her, I apologized, and she said, oh yes, that she had felt criticized and judged when that was totally not my intention. And we were able to clear the air that way. So the other way is to trust your intuition. And intuition is knowing without the use of your senses. It's like knowing you know without knowing how you know. And there's always an opportunity to trust your intuition. And I think it hits you. Some people get a gut feeling, and they can trust that. Another way is to trust coincidence. And Spirit talks to us and arranges coincidences and serendipitous occasions. It's said that Einstein said that coincidence is God's way of remaining anonymous. You can trust those things. How many of you have thought, oh, I haven't talked to Sylvester? Well, not Sylvester, you fill in the name. I haven't talked to Sylvester in a long time. I wonder how he's doing. And within seconds, Sylvester phones up or comes calling. Some of you know that I have a woman who lives with me, and she had moved out because I had COVID. And one day I was thinking, gee, I haven't heard from April in a long time. That was at about 11 o'clock in the morning. And about 1 o'clock, April came walking up the driveway. And at the time that I thought, I haven't talked to April in a long time, I wish that she would move back in with me. She came up the driveway. She was just checking on me. And we had the conversation, and she moved back in. Coincidence? Well, or God. Coincidence? Serendipity. God speaks to us if we allow ourselves to be spoken to. Some people get goosebumps. I do not. Only when I'm cold. And I know that there's a difference between cold goosebumps and God goosebumps, You can trust your intuition about that. And the most important part is the ability to treat, to pray, and then watch the demonstrations. I told this story, and I probably you've heard it, but I'm going to tell it again because I like it. I was journaling that I really needed a job. I was really wanting a job that would allow me time to care for my husband, care for my mother, that would allow me those kinds of hours. And I was just like, God, I really need a job. Writing in my journal, slammed the journal closed, and the phone rang. It was a fellow that I had talked with about a job maybe 6 months before. And he was a little superstitious. So later, I told him what had happened, and he thought I was a bruja and scared the hell out of him. But I really needed a job. And it came like bam. Now, they don't always come like bam, and they don't always come in a way that we would expect. And so, I can't tell you how many times I've had practitioner appointments with people, and I prayed with them, and I could watch the demonstration unfold. And they missed seeing it because it was so subtle and it was so cause and effect, you know, but they could see the cause and they could see the effect. But they missed the original cause, which was the treatment. So we have to pay attention. God's not going to use a burning bush. Well, I don't know, maybe he will, but I haven't had that experience. God's not going to speak some voice from outside. Maybe. Not for me. But God is going to talk to us. And it's our responsibility to listen. So I've mentioned the way that God has spoken to me and the ways that I've heard. Have I missed anything? Have you had an opportunity to hear God in a way that I haven't mentioned? Anybody? I can't see your hands, so just speak up.
From your words, Reverend Rebecca.
That's so kind. Thank you. Anything else?
A house that George and I sold, the people who bought it stopped paying for it, and it was going to go into bankruptcy. And so I just knew it wasn't going to. I wasn't worried. He was, but like how to respond or not, it's going to go away. It's fine. And it did.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Carol. Trusting your gut reaction, right? Your intuition, your knowing. Absolutely. Anybody else? I can't see. Speak up. Speak up.
I had been exposed to science of mind principles and was looking for, I didn't know where there was a church or if there was a church. It was all very nebulous at first.
Uh-huh.
And I was going for a walk around the park, a beautiful park that was adjacent to where I lived. And on the corner of the park was a Science of Mind church.
There it was. Thank you, Jerry. Sometimes a bumper sticker will give you an answer. You can ask a question before you go to sleep, and the answer perhaps will come and be available to you first thing in the morning. Billboards. Anybody else? Okay, how about if we anchor this all in prayer? So, reminding you that my words can be your words. I speak in the first person. Thank you, God. Ta-da! Oh, all right. So, ta-da! I just knocked my, when they say that Rebecca's wired, they really mean it. God is so good and joyful and everywhere present, communicating, celebrating, letting us know that the truth is the truth and we can trust it. I love it. I love this stuff. I love this faith. I love the power that my word has. And as I celebrate my word, as I celebrate my communication, as I celebrate my relationship with the divine, with God, Spirit, I celebrate it on your behalf, knowing that God is speaking at this very moment through each one of us. And I trust it, and I am moved by it, and I'm filled with joy. I'm filled with peace. And I absolutely know that whatever is disturbing me at this moment, whatever angst that I have, whatever discomfort, whatever lack of harmony is being resolved in a way that I may never understand, I may never recognize, that I may be surprised by, because I may have one or two ideas of how to solve a problem, how to create peace in this world, how to be filled with harmony without judgment or criticism. And as I know one or two ways, I absolutely know that the divine, God, the universe, Spirit, that creative essence has got it handled in a way that I never could have imagined. So with gratitude, with joy, with absolute faith and trust, I get my bloated nothingness out of the way and I allow God. And I say, thank you. Thank you, Mother, Father, God. And so it is. I'm going to take my wires and go.
And I'll bring my wires in. Here we go. Thank you, love. That was beautiful. Especially your alarm at the end. That was classic. So as I mentioned earlier, we're in this series. I began this very service singing, I feel Spirit moving through me, helping me to discern what is mine to do. And that's the invitation to everyone here. So this week, our theme is, Can You Hear Me Now? an opportunity to be seen and heard. In a little bit, Dino is going to tell you how you can do that on an individual level with a practitioner, with whatever's on your heart and mind that you might need assistance with. He'll give you some guidance on that. But I want to let you know what's available the rest of the week around this series and around this weekly theme. Tomorrow evening, I totally misspoke last week, so disregard everything I said about the meeting on building intentional multicultural community. I said was going to be here at 5:30. It is not. It is on Zoom still. We will be bringing that, in person, but for this month it will be on Zoom. And I'm assuming that most of you get the weekly newsletter. If you don't, go onto our website and sign up for that weekly newsletter, because all the correct details are in the newsletter. It's going to be on Zoom tomorrow night at 6 o'clock, and this is our opportunity to be seen and heard and practice that value that I talked about around diversity, equity, and inclusion, where we come together in a real meaningful way and have an important conversation directly about how we are planning to take our mission of being love in action and changing lives and changing community. This is where the rubber hits the road. We come together and have this beautiful conversation. I can't wait. So it's tomorrow, 6 p.m. on Zoom, and you can get that link by emailing. If you don't have it, it's in the newsletter, but if you don't have that newsletter, email socialuplift@abqcsl.org, and Jane will provide you the Zoom link. Otherwise, you can just get it right by clicking in the newsletter, and it'll take you right in. So I hope to see everybody there. This has been, Jane has been building this program for a long time, and we are really excited to move forward in that way. Wednesday, last week if you were here, you met Imam Abdur Rauf from Menara Muslim community. Every Wednesday, 5:30, and this I do know, in person here in the old social hall, they do their homeless feeding program, which we are partnering with them on. So you are welcome to come and help make sandwiches and food outreach. And then if you're really inclined, then they pack it all up in cars and take it out to the streets and distribute it around the International District. They've been doing this for years and years and years, and I am honored that we're a part of it. And those of you who may have had a taste of that, that is love in action, to be certain. So that's Wednesday. And then Friday, a chance to come together and practice these principles together in a more ritualistic and reverent way, where we come together on Fridays. And this Friday, we're going to be walking the labyrinth with Vicky Murata. So we're going to clear the chairs and get purposeful and walk this labyrinth with Vicky. And that is at 5:30 as well. See, that's why I got into that 5:30 groove. 5:30 here, Friday night. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you have opportunities to join in community. And at this time, I'd just like to also express gratitude to everyone in this community that supports it through your gifts of time, talent, and treasure, time through all the volunteer hours. And as we move forward in pursuing this relocation, if rolling up your sleeves is enticing to you, you can let me know, and I will point you in the direction probably of Maddie and Krista, and if you'd like to help in any way with that. And again, being seen, let us know what you'd like to do. On the website and also in the newsletter are links to joining teams, and you can look at all the teams that are available. And now that we're coming back online, those teams will actually have meaningful work to do and especially with our process of relocating. And that's time and talent, and treasure is just all the ways that you participate in through your giving to fuel all of these programs that we're hoping to do. You can text to give if you're new and looking to make a gift, or if that's the way that you prefer to give, 505-847-8431, or go on the website to our secure donate area, and you can give that way. And there's a QR code there as well, and you can scan that on your phone, and that takes you right in as well. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart for everybody's contributions in all these different ways, because this is how we do what we do. And I have a green addendum that Mary gave me. Today, if you're looking for something to do at 12:15, there's going to be a concert at St. John's Cathedral for the children of the Ukraine. And in my mind, it's for all children who may, be experiencing war and displacement. That's 318 Silver Avenue, St. John's Cathedral, today at 12:15. And any donations that are collected there will be going to UNICEF. And the concert is musicians from the Philharmonic. I'm assuming that's probably the Albuquerque Philharmonic. And so that's something to do today to support our prayers for all children and people that are experiencing war in Ukraine and elsewhere. So that's what I got. The other thing I know is Brother Dino is going to come up and tell you about prayer and then take us out. So love you all and thank you for being here today, and thank you for being here on Facebook and YouTube as well.
Thank you, Jeff. When I first got here, it wasn't very long before I noticed that Jeff was sitting behind me in the sanctuary. And we used to go around and wish peace on one another. And so I bumped into Jeff, and he gave me a big old hug. And I thought maybe this could be my next boyfriend. He hugged me so good. And then I met Clarissa. I love you all so much. I love being here. The center gives me purpose and allows me to love back what has been so gracefully given me. I don't know if very many of you know that my mother was a Las Vegas showgirl, and my father, a Marine, he met her in Las Vegas, and they had a beautiful life. And of course, it was just a story that I tell because I wasn't born then. But I grew up, my parents, I think, were about 40 years old when they had me. So I was one of the youngest. My mother had 12 children. And so when I was growing up, there were 6. And I saw a lot of, even myself getting into trouble and all the concerns I had growing up and my parents supporting me. And I watched my mother carry it all. And very recently, I was speaking with someone about some deep-seated sorrow. And I was thinking about that. As we work with others, we find that as a practitioner that the things that we struggle with are coming to us through the people that want prayer. And so I was thinking about deep-seated sorrow, and I thought about my mother, and I thought about how I wish that she could have lived a better life. And a couple of hours later, I was sitting at home, and I had the sense of face cream that she wore. I could smell her face cream as I was thinking about this. And I closed my eyes and I said, "Hi, Mom. What is it that you'd like to say to me?" And she says, "It's beautiful here. It's everything I ever wanted." So as Reverend Rebecca was mentioning, that some of that emotion had stayed with me for a very long time until a few nights ago, where I was able to release that, knowing that everything I wanted for her, she has. At this time, I'd like to recognize the practitioners in the room. We do offer prayer here in this community. We are trained to know the truth of who you are, that you are whole and complete and perfect. We have prayer request cards in the back that you can fill out if you have something on your heart, or even if you have a joy or a prayer for someone, you can place that in the prayer box, and the practitioners and ministers of the center will pray for you. Also, if you'd like to go online to the ABQCSL website, there's a bar up at the top about us that lists the practitioners that are willing to meet with you either by phone or in person, which is really a wonderful thing. If you're ever in a place where you'd like to have some company, we'll definitely meet with you. You can also email prayer@abqcsl, and we will pray with you. We offer prayer after the service if you'd like to have some time with a practitioner. They'll be available in the back to pray with you for a few minutes. At this time, I'd like to close the service in prayer. If the practitioners would join me by standing either on the sides of the room or up front here with me, and we will hold the sacred space for your prayers. So if you have something on your mind that you'd like to release or actually bring forth in your life, we will take that opportunity at this time. If you feel comfortable closing your eyes as we close our service in prayer. I know that this space has been created just for us, this sacred space in time, in our lives today. This beautiful day has been created just for us, and in our intention for peace, we find it here today in this sacred space, in the sanctuary of our hearts. For it is in the sanctuary of our hearts that we recognize Spirit. Spirit that is the candle on the altar of your life, always available, always present, all-knowing, all-powerful. We bring forth our goodwill and our kindness in the work that we do, and most especially in how we treat ourselves and others. Let us take a moment in silence to lay your prayer on the altar. Prayer for peace and love for the people of the world that may be suffering at this time. Anyone that we know that may be ill, we create the sacred space where we are all whole and complete, safe and loved. Let's take a moment. In gratitude, we pray for this precious day of life. And so it is. With the closing affirmation, as we close our service for today, if you'd like to say it with me, that would be lovely. Today, all of the gifts of God are mine to enjoy. My heart, my mind, and my hands are open to discern the impulse of love in my life right now. Thank you for joining us today. Namaste.